Hi, friends. Welcome to the Infertility Club. We have amazing Kylie Rose here today.
Hello.
And I am so excited to have her on. I was actually, Kylie, going through, I was remembering, I'm like, Kylie and I first originally met on Instagram
Yeah.
and became friends. And I went all the way back and I even looked it up because I was so curious. It was in 2019.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because it's right when you had the twins and I had Easton, like right before there's.
It was. Look, I found your message and it was so cute. It says, I think I'm like a week or two behind you in pregnancy. I got pregnant through IUI on my second round. Anyways, just wanted to say I'm excited to see your journey and see where it brings you. And I thought that was so cute.
That's funny.
Kylie is an amazing mom of two awesome kids. She is the hostess with the mostest and loves to plan parties. And it's been so fun because we have kids similar ages. And so it's been awesome to be able to see our kids grow together. And I've loved that. Kylie, thank you so much for being on here today.
Of course. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, well, Kylie, tell us a little bit about your journey to motherhood. What did that look like for you?
Man, it's funny because it's kind of a long story.
We're ready for it. Let's hear it.
I've always known I've wanted kids. Clear back in like middle school, high school. In fact, this probably sounds crazy, but me and my mom, whenever, even from like age 16 on, if there was like a sale on baby clothes, we would buy them and just like store them, whether it was for like to give to somebody else or like my future kids. So like when I had my son, there was clothes that he wore that I've had since like 2007, like that he wore.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've had some stuff for a long time, but when I got into my like later 20s, I was like if I don't meet anybody, like do I how will that work? Because I had heard a couple people that have been the single mom by choice, and I was like, so I kind of looked into it, and I was like, well, maybe I would go that route. Like that sounds kind of hard, but like if I don't meet somebody, I'm not going to waste my chance on having kids to just because I don't meet somebody.
Yeah.
Around like 28, I was like, I really think I might want to try that. And so for from 28 to like 29, I had met some friends who were doing home IUIs. So I was like, oh, cool. So I think I did maybe like 2 or 3 at home IUIs just to like test the waters and see if it would work.
Yeah.
And it didn't. So then I was like, maybe I need like a little more help with that. So I went to my regular doctor and she said, well, we'll stick you on. I feel like it was Clomid. I can't remember, just to see. And I think I did like 1 or 2 more at home and it didn't work. So I was like, I'm going to go to like the big guns of like Utah Fertility Center. And so I made an appointment with them. And then at that point, I was like, okay, this is getting really serious. So I lived with my parents at that point, and I was like, I better talk to my mom and make sure she's okay with me bringing a grandchild into her house.
I love it.
So I talked to her, and I think she was more excited than me. Like, she's like, yes.
Oh, your mom.
So she like knew about the process. And so I went to Utah for fertility, and it turned out that I had PCOS, which I knew I probably did from symptoms and things. So I was like, well, I'm glad I got it checked out because that could, like, I was more than likely not ovulating at that point. Like, I didn't ever get positives on a test when I did it at home.
Mm-hmm.
I just like would get close and I'd be like, okay, that looks fine. Like, I didn't know anything about it. So that's probably why it wasn't working.
Yeah.
So December of 2018, I had my first IUI. And so this sounds horrible, but so I got my sperm donation from Seattle Sperm Bank. And at the time, my sperm donor was the donor of the month, which basically meant you could buy one, get one free.
Well, that's awesome.
I'm like, that saves me $800. So I was like, he had super good genetics, like nothing wrong. Like he was a super cute baby. So I was like, all right, checks off all the boxes. Sure, I'll get a free vial.
That's so great.
So we bought the buy one, get one free. And I had my first IUI like 2 days after Christmas. I remember that I had started Clomid like right before Christmas and I'd never taken it before like that. And so I was like super exhausted through the whole Christmas that year. I was like, this sucks. Like, is this going to happen every month? Then I figured out that if I take it before bed, it wasn't so bad.
That's
But so that IUI didn't work. I think I found out like the beginning of January it didn't work. And then my second IUI in February happened to be the one that worked. So I only had 2 IUIs with Easton, which is amazing because like people have lots more than that. So then I had Easton, and then I was like, he's such a good baby. I'm gonna definitely have enough. When he turned 1 is when I started trying to have another, and unfortunately my daughter took about 7 tries for rather than 2. So her donor is different than Easton's because Easton's donor ran out for a little bit, and I didn't want to stop trying, like, because it was taking so long. I was hoping to have the same donor for all my kids, but my son's donor ran out like March or April of the year that I was trying for her. And so I bought an extra vial of somebody else. And then he came back with a couple. So I bought more of him. So I tried 2 more times with him, my son's donor. And then the very last try before I was like, well, I might have to do like IVF or something. My very last try, I switched the donor and I got pregnant with my daughter.
oh.
So I was like, it must have been meant to be because all of Easton's donor siblings are male as of right now. And so I just happened to get a girl. And I'm like, I must have been meant to have a girl because if I got pregnant with Easton's donor, it more than likely would have been a boy. So it's just funny how that worked.
Totally.
Yes.
Well, I love it. You have the cutest kids ever, and they are so sweet and so fun.
My daughter's a little wild, but
Oh my gosh. You know what happens. There's phases, isn't there?
yeah.
So when you were looking for a sperm donor, how did that process go?
So I always tell people it's literally like online dating. Seattle Sperm Bank has a thing because, they want to make their money as much as possible. So you have to pay to see like baby pictures, other things besides, like, you can always see the genetics, and then like hair color, eye color, but you don't get to see a picture of them as an adult. They don't do that there, but it's basically like you can pay $50 for, I think it's like a 3-month like thing where you can look at as many pictures as you want and read the profile stories. Like, they have handwritten notes and stuff.
Well,
I paid the $50 and then kind of went through, and I wasn't sure exactly what I was looking for because like you're like, I don't know, like,
totally. Yeah.
so I just looked for somebody who was like tall as me, like
You do have a very tall family.
I didn't want to have my kid have a chance of being like 5 feet tall. I don't know, and I didn't choose like a specific hair color, eye color, or like nationality, I don't think. But yeah, you basically like type in what your preferences are. I think I did what's called CMV negative, because I don't know if I'm positive or negative for CMV, and I guess it can be kind of dangerous if I'm negative and somebody's positive. It can pass it on to the baby if you get pregnant. So I just chose CMV negative, and then I just made sure like the genetics were clean. So that was about it. But yeah, seriously, like online dating, like you see baby pictures of each person, and it has their name, age, height, and then it says like whether they had good teeth and needed braces, or what if their mother had any genetic issues, or so it's just hilarious because like, yep, it's basically scrolling through online profiles.
Wow. That's pretty detailed, though, that they even have that kind of information.
Oh yeah. So like my son's donor is actually Jewish, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is
I don't know anything about it, so I wouldn't be able to teach him anything, but
that is neat, though.
yeah. But and both of them are, so you can choose between open ID or closed ID, which basically means that at 18, if they're open, your child can contact the sperm bank to get whatever information they have about the donor to try and contact them.
Oh, wow.
So I chose open because I felt like that's not really my say on whether they get to choose to talk to part of their genetics or not. So that's why I chose that. But it's kind of like iffy because nobody at Seattle Sperm Bank has turned 18 yet, any babies.
Oh,
So they don't know exactly how it works.
and what that's gonna look like. Yeah,
So it's just kind of like a hopeful, yeah. So
that's super cool. So you said you did a few at-home IUI tests and stuff. So how did you get the sperm for that?
so one reason I chose Seattle is they'll ship it to your house. There are a few sperm banks that actually will not ship to your house. You have to ship it to a clinic or something. Which some clinics, if you talk to them and you want to do it at home, they'll like let you ship it to them and then you can pick it up.
Yeah.
But Seattle Sperm Bank would actually ship it to your own home. And it's funny because there are like these big tanks, and then there's this like super tiny little vial of sperm in this huge tank that's frozen that gets shipped in a big box, and it costs like $200 to ship. So if you can buy, like, if you're planning on having several children and trying a few IUIs if it doesn't work, it's definitely better to ship several at once to like a clinic or storage or whatever, so you don't have to pay for shipping again because it's so expensive.
Okay.
Because it's $200 and you can fit like, I think it's like 10 or 12 vials in one tank. So it's like it saves you money if you can ship more than one.
Totally. And so the fertility clinic can store that for you.
Yep, Utah Fertility Clinic can store the sperm in their bank. So it costs me $250 a year to store it, which is actually coming up in December. So I'm like trying to decide, like, am I really done having kids, or like, do I want to pay that $250?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I can relate. Our embryos are frozen there, and I get that bill.
Yes.
They switched us to monthly bill, so it comes up every month, and every month I'm like, what do we do?
That's cool. They switched it to monthly. I'm like, it wouldn't be so bad if it was monthly. I'm like, why is it at Christmas? Why couldn't you do it in like June?
Totally. You're like the biggest expense month of the year.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's too great. So, when you were doing IUIs at Utah Fertility Clinic, how did that process go for you?
So basically, you have your what's called baseline ultrasound, and that happens. So you call them once your period starts, and I think it's day 3 after your period, and they do an ultrasound, which is really weird because it's an internal ultrasound. So you're like, well, this is close and personal, isn't it?
Yeah.
um, and so on day 3 of your period, you go and you do an internal, and I think they check for like to see if you have any cysts, or make sure your lining is getting thinned out. And then after day 3, depending on what your cycle's like, because if you kind of know what your cycle, like where you might ovulate, like I think it's so for me, I ovulate super early in my cycle, most of the time. So they have me come in at like day 10, and they check to see if your lining is getting thicker, and then they check to see how many follicles you have on each side. So I was taking Clomid because I had PCOS, and I wasn't ever ovulating, so that was going to help me grow the eggs and the follicles. So I think the most I had at one time was like 5, and they have to have you sign a consent form, like, you do realize that there's a possibility that you could have 5 babies. And I'm like, sure, like, it's not going to happen.
Coming from a triplet. And I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I know. I always was a little nervous, but like Easton, I think I had 3 follicles when I got pregnant with him. And Avery, I think, was 2 or 3. So it's funny. But yeah, so then, yeah, day 10, you do that. And then they didn't have me like keep track of ovulation because they had me come in like every 2 to 3 days after that. Because they want them to all be, the follicles that are there to be like over, I think it's like a size 18 inches or whatever, centimeters, 20, something like that. So they just kind of keep track. And then I did what's called a trigger shot like a day and a half before my IUI. So like if my IUI was like Sunday morning, on like Friday night at a specific time, I would do the shot, which is terrifying the first time. But then after that, you're like, whatever, it's fine. Like, I don't know how, because you did a bunch of shots for IVF, right? I don't know how you did that.
I made Jake do one. I was terrified.
Yeah.
Towards the end, I could do them myself, but it is. It's like, it's intimidating.
Because, like, it doesn't hurt that bad. Yes, it's not fun, but it's just freaky for some reason doing it yourself.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
Then you're like, "Am I gonna screw it up because I have to do it at the specific time?" Oh my god. It's funny. Like, I always would get a huge bruise, and I'm like, "Does that mean I did it wrong?" Like,
Totally. It's like all those thoughts running through your head. I had those too. Yeah.
then you do the trigger shot, then, like, 36 hours later, you go in, and then they make you come in with, like, a partially full bladder, which is interesting because 'cause they're like, "Pretty much don't pee on us while we stick this tube up there." Like, we
So great.
and it's funny because you can tell, like, the one time I didn't have a fuller bladder, it actually hurt a lot more going in, but then all the other times I couldn't feel it. So I think it, like, helps open something, I don't know. But yeah, so then they do the IUI, and then, they basically be like, "Alright, well, just lay here for 10 minutes with your bum up," and so they lift your bum up and just leave you in the room by yourself. And then they're always like, "Wait for the 2 weeks to do the beta test. Don't do any pregnancy tests." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Who cannot?" Like, I can never wait.
So did you ever wait?
So it's funny. So the trigger shot makes you get a positive pregnancy test.
Hmm.
And so I would test it out because I wanted to make sure that if I did take a test that it wasn't the trigger shot. And so both times I got pregnant, I was actually testing it out, and I was like, "Okay, the next one should be pretty much gone because the trigger shot's basically gone." And then it started to get darker both times. And so I kind of just like, I was like, "Wait, am I seeing things?" Like, so it took me like another day or two to be like, "It's freaking getting darker." So, but then that happened both kids. So like day 7, 8, it started to get almost all the way gone. And then like day 9 is when I would get like the fainter positive of like it's getting darker.
Yeah. So did you take tests every single day?
Oh yeah. I bought those cheapy like Amazon like 100 pack.
I love it.
And this is gross now that like I don't know why, but so with my son, I like taped all of the pregnancy tests in order of by day so I could see the line progression. And now I'm sitting here, I'm like, that's freaking disgusting. But I still have it in his baby box somewhere.
Oh, yeah, it's cute though, because it's part of the process of it all.
Yeah, like look, that's where the trigger shot was, and then slowly it's gone, and then there you are.
Totally. Well, because it's like it was a journey getting there and getting to that point.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like those moments are so rewarding.
Yeah, and like with my son, I luckily only had like one round of negative tests. But like with my daughter, it was like 7 months. So like month after month, you're like, "Oh, it's another negative." Like, and so to finally be like, "Wait, it's going positive." Like, it's like I get to see the progression. And then you're like, then you're paranoid, like, "Well, is it actually getting darker or is it staying the same?" Like, you turn into like a paranoid mess. Like, I need to take a test every day.
Oh. So when you were going through that period of 7 months, test after test being negative with doing IUI and it not working out, how did you decide to do one more time? Were you like tempted to do IVF or what were you thinking?
Well, that was the hard part. Like, at this point, I was like, I can afford part of IVF if it worked out in this time. And I think it was just like I just don't want to try to figure out that much money at one time. So I was like, okay. So I would try, and then I had like 1 month break because there was not any sperm and left. And then I was like, well, I'll buy somebody else's. And then his came back. So I was like, I'll try with however many vials I have. And then the last time I was like, if this doesn't work, I'll take a break. And then maybe like beginning of next year, I'll see if I can get like financing for it. And so it just was like the one last shot. Like I was like, I just have to try one more time. And I don't even think, I feel like I didn't tell my mom about the last one. Like I just like did it and I was like, ta-da. Like she was like, what? Oh. And we actually, so I found out I was pregnant with Avery 2 days before we went to Disney World.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, so I actually had to like find a place in Florida to do my blood test because I was like, I know I'm pregnant, but
You were so cute, and you even got shirts and stuff made too, because you were like, "This is gonna work. It's gonna work. This is it. This is it."
Yeah, I got a Disney shirt and I was like, if this doesn't work, this is such a waste of money. And it just happened to be the time that it worked. So I was like, positive affirmations, man. Like, buy the shirt that you think's not going to work out.
Totally, totally putting it out there. Did you feel like during those times, was there anything that helped you in those hard moments?
I mean, just knowing other people that were going through the same thing. Like, I know so many people who are going through IVF or who went through IVF. And in fact, one of my really good friends is one of my son's donor families they have two kids, one on the way, that are related to Easton. And we've actually talked at least weekly since Easton was like 3 months old when I found them. And so like, and our kids are like all basically like similar age. And so we were like trying at the same time. And so it's just fun to like just talking to other people. It's like, okay, like you're going through the same thing. Like it's not just me going through it, like knowing other people have gone through it and have had good outcomes just kind of keeps going.
That's super cool. So those friends and stuff, how did you find them? Was it through like Facebook groups?
Battle Sperm Bank has a Facebook where people search like, hey, I used donor, blah, 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 and I'm pregnant with a baby or something like that. And so I actually found out about it when Easton was like 3 months old.
Oh, that's
And so I searched his donor's name and number. And then one family came up that said, we're due with the baby. And what's weird is their oldest son was born on Easton's due date.
oh, that's awesome.
So they're only 2 weeks apart. So they both just turned 4. So it's just fun because they're about the same age. And then their second son and then Avery are about 9 months apart. So it's crazy.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is there any advice or anything else you'd like to share about your journey?
Just try. It's really hard to think positive, but if you can, because like the times that it worked were the times that I was just like, let go of like the negative and like just were like, it's gonna work. Like whether, and like obviously that doesn't happen every time, but and then also go by your gut because so like with my son it took 2 tries and I had just started at the fertility clinic. So they do like all these like take the green tea, drink green tea every day and take all these vitamins and stuff. And then when I started my second round with Avery, I got pregnant so quickly with Easton that they didn't tell me to take anything besides the Clomid. And so I kept going like this, why isn't this working? And I had a different doctor randomly because they accidentally signed me up with the wrong doctor. And I was like, well, it's fine. And then so in like March or April, I switched to my son's doctor back to her and had a consultation with her. And then she didn't tell me to take anything, but I found my list of like vitamins and things that I took with Easton. And it was literally the second IUI after I started the regimen that I did with Easton that I got pregnant with Avery.
Wow.
And I'm like, would that have, so like go by your gut. Like if you feel something's not working, like I know tons of people who switch like fertility clinics after one time because they don't like it. And it's like I feel like people feel they're stuck with one thing and it's like, go by your gut. Like if you feel like something's not working and you want to try something different, like do it. Like no one's forcing you to, like it feels like you can't really switch or if you feel like you need to, do it. Like mom gut is real whether you have kids yet or not. Like if you feel like something's not right, then change it. So that's my biggest thing because I honestly like I feel like if I wouldn't have found that paper like myself and been like, what was I taking? Like what vitamins was helped? Then I don't think I would have had her yet. Like, so it's like just go by your gut. Like if you feel it's not the way you want it to work, then switch or ask them to do something different. You have to definitely advocate for yourself a lot through like the clinics and stuff because they're just kind of going based off of what they know and like what's worked for other people. But another story is when I was trying for Avery, they didn't tell me to take the LH surge for the ovulation test, but I can kind of feel when I'm eggs are getting bigger. So one of the tries I was like, I just feel like I need to take an ovulation test. And I took the ovulation test and it was blazing positive. And I wasn't supposed to go in for like 2 or 3 more days. So I called them and I was like, listen, I've got a positive LH surge. And they like made me an appointment that day and was like, come in. But then they made the mistake of they still kept my IUI for the appointment I had, which ended up being like 46 hours after the positive ovulation test. And so I had talked to the doctor after and I was like, I'm pretty sure like we missed it. Like I definitely ovulated early. And she's like, well, they always do it 36 hours. I'm like, right. But this was like 40 something hours. She's like, oh, like that shouldn't have happened. Like they should have had you come over. So if you think something's not right, like mention it. Cause in my mind, I was like, that just sounds weird, but they're the doctors. So, but like, yeah, if you feel something's wrong, like mention it.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice because I think you're right. So many times it's like we feel helpless in these moments, but then it's really like we have to be an advocate for ourselves because we're the only person too.
Yep. Well, and it's like sometimes like the doctor's not seeing something that you're feeling. Like I was like, I'm ovulating, like I can feel it. Like so it's like they can't know that I'm feeling that. Like they just go by what worked the last 3 times. Yeah, so just advocate for yourself. That's the biggest thing, like
For sure.
and find a community. That was the best thing I ever did was like Instagram search whatever you want. Like if you want to be a single mom by choice, like there's thousands of women who are doing the same thing. Like I have tons of friends now all over the country and some even in like other parts of the world that are all becoming single moms or are already single moms. And like I have people who find my page from a hashtag and they send me message. Like somebody just sent me a message and was like, I'm a single mom to one and I just couldn't decide if I want two, but like I see that you have two and that everything seems to be doing well. Like, what do you think? And so just finding people to talk to is really big.
Yeah, it really is. That I mean, I feel like that's what gets us through those moments. And even after, like it's great to have that community to be able to be like, how about this? What about formula? What about these things? And so you have people to bounce off questions.
Yes. Yeah, we've talked to each other a bunch about
Yeah. Yeah. I know. All the time we're like, are you eating? What about fourth? Like, yeah. I know. Kylie was always my go-to.
their first swim lessons together.
Oh, that was so fun. I know they were just little babies
Yeah.
doing the survival swim.
It's just fun. Like whatever you're trying to do, find a community because that'll keep you going.
For sure. It really does. That is what keeps people going. And it is so, so helpful. And there's so much we can learn from each other too. And just finding out, oh, what worked for someone and it can spark an idea and out with any of that.
Yep.
Kylie, thank you so, so, so much for being on here today. I want to mention really quick because Kylie is an amazing photographer and she does the cutest newborn photos ever. Like, I feel like her newborn photo shoot.
I haven't had a newborn in forever either.
Oh my gosh, they're so, so, so cute. If people want to be able to hire you or reach out to you, where's a good spot for that?
My main Instagram is krose1233, and that's like more of like my journey with motherhood. And then I also have a photography Instagram, but it's linked through my main Instagram, and it's I have to remember because it's a little bit different because something was taken. I think it's under Kylie K Rose Photography.
I'll make sure to link it in the description below. Oh, Kylie, thank you so much. You are so full of wisdom, and I love your advice about creating a community and being able to just be proactive and being an advocate for yourself. I think you're a wonderful example of that, and I just appreciate you so much being on here.
Thanks for having me.
Looking for a support buddy? Join our social media pages to meet and make new friends. Thank you so much for stopping by the Infertility Club. Wherever you are at in your journey, don't forget, you got this.